This is the Marketing Umbrella Podcast, where it's all about getting the information you need from successful leading marketers to build and grow your digital marketing agency. Brought to you by Itamar Shafir, founder and CEO of Umbrella, the technology platform and brand that is powering thousands of marketing agencies around the country. Find him at umbrellaus.com. Now, here's your host, Kevin Pruitt.
This is the Marketing Umbrella Podcast, and my name is Kevin Pruitt. It's my honor to host this podcast, and we have a special guest today. She's a master of selling to modern buyers. She learned this skill set out of necessity while juggling a career of momhood to find a passion that blended both. As the founder of Close, she now teaches a community of closers how to adapt their strategy to win over today's buyers, and boy, is it effective. Today, we'll discover her proven methods for connecting with today's buyers, leveraging platforms like LinkedIn and adopting modern sales techniques that truly resonate. With a mix of inspiration and tactics, we'll learn how to make every interaction count and become part of a movement that's reshaping the future of sales. Please join me in welcoming Chelsea Olsen to the Marketing Umbrella Podcast. Chelsea, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So Chelsea, I've been chasing Chelsea on LinkedIn for a bit, and she one of those times where you start following and then you connect on LinkedIn, but I look at my feed and she's like every fifth post or something like that, I think is popping up. So she is extremely active or proactive, I think is maybe a better word, on LinkedIn, and is obviously effective in reaching the demographic that you're trying to reach. So this bio is always far too short for a lifetime of history and experiences. So what are some other things that you would add to that kind of round out to give our audience just a much more comprehensive picture of Chelsea Olsen?
Let's try to put me in 3 sentences, okay? I've been in sales for 20 years. I've been selling on LinkedIn, doing B2B sales for 15 years. And I've been teaching and helping sales teams learn how to leverage LinkedIn to increase their sales for about 8 years now.
I thought you were going to say 10. I mean, if you really wanted to stay with it,
I
2015,
know, I
10.
wish.
So a couple of years from now we can.
I should just lie to make it all even.
Exactly right. That's right. It's the power of threes. But
yeah.
Why LinkedIn? What's the unique thing about LinkedIn?
Well, LinkedIn today is a really great way to connect with your buyers. I think we can all agree that the way people are buying has changed. So there's some stats I like to throw out there, but simple things like your buyers are typically 70% through their buying decision before they ever book a call with you or do a demo. They consume on average 13 pieces of content, which is different because if you think back in the day, like when we were doing cold calling and even cold emails, you'd reach out to somebody. They didn't have access to all this information about you and your company at their fingertips. So they would read or listen to you on the phone. They would read your email, and then they decide, okay, I'll book a call or I'm going to hear more, right? So they would do a demo or they'd do a discovery call. Now they don't need to do that. You're not the true one source for your company and what you're selling. So now what they do is if you reach out to them, they vet you. And how they do that is through LinkedIn. They go on LinkedIn, they look at the LinkedIn profile of the person who sent the email or did the cold call. Yep. They look at the company, they see all the content, they make decisions in their mind about you before they ever meet with you. And that's where that huge opportunity lies, because when they are on that profile, you need to convert them and move them down the funnel. And if you don't, you lose them.
Is there something unique about LinkedIn where it appears to be like a trusted source where, say, X or Instagram or TikTok or whatever is more vanity metrics or however else you would describe that? Is there, LinkedIn's for the professionals? Is that kind of the vibe around this social network?
I think people are better behaved. They behave a little bit better on LinkedIn than they do on the other platforms. But yes, LinkedIn is more business focused. So people are going there to create relationships, to network, to sell their products and services, and also consume. All of the people I work with, I've connected with them on LinkedIn. That's how I've met them. Yep. And that's how I became a buyer of their products and service.
Go back to early childhood. So, or maybe the early memories. So I mean, you are in this, so you have your own business, you're kind of building this, scaling it out or whatever. Was there some early signs that said, hey, Chelsea, I kind of feel like I'm going to be in this business space. I mean, I'm selling candy to kids on the playground. I'm schlepping newspaper, subscriptions to my neighbors or my elderly neighbors or something like that. I'm describing my own childhood here. So
Yeah.
tell me, what are some of those early signs that thought, you know what, I can look back and kind of see this kind of playing itself out?
It's always interesting, right? Because we talk about, is it nurture, is it nature, and
Exactly.
the whole discussion. For me, I was definitely born with this unique drive to make money and also to have freedom. Those two things I really
Hmm.
like. I didn't really love people telling me how to think, how to act, what to do with my time, which is my most valuable resource on this planet, right? So I think from day one, like I was destined to be a business owner, but I was like selling lemonade on the corner, like, doing everything, cleaning cars, like you name it, I was doing it. And I was taking my money and stashing it and like hiding it in my phone. Like, who's taking it? But like, I was just like always like hoarding my money. Things don't change, right? Like you like the money for a reason. For me, it was security, I
Yeah.
think. And
Yeah.
yeah, I've always been an entrepreneur. I started my first business in college doing cleaning. So I was cleaning dorms, I was cleaning houses, condos, rental homes, started getting other people to help. So yeah, always hustling, making money.
And I mean, from that, what are some lessons that were learned early that, especially like, think about that cleaning business. I mean, you're sitting there thinking, day one, I started this. Okay, I'm going to charge you $50 to clean your dorm room, or something like that. And people are, hey, man, I'm gladly pay that because I hate cleaning type thing. So, what is an accounting system? Number one, why would I need one? Number two, what do you mean taxes? I have to pay taxes on this. When do I hire my first employee? I mean, those are all, how do I market this? I mean, is it just word of mouth? Am I just, you tell somebody else, and then now I've got 5 dorm rooms clean. So, I mean, all these decisions at such an early age.
Well, back then, I wish I was cleaning the dorm rooms. I was cleaning the bathrooms at the dorms. So like, it doesn't get worse than cleaning the
That's
toilets.
right. That's even earlier. That's right.
Disgusting. Cleaning the toilets and all of the showers because
You're
I,
above nothing. You'll do anything. That's right.
yeah, basically is what the lesson was. Like, I'm not above this. I went to the janitor, like the head of the dorms, and I'm like, there's mold all over the showers. Like these bathrooms are disgusting. Can you pay me $50 and I'll scrub them for you? And that's how it started. And then it went from there. And like, then I started doing houses and I was like, wow, this is a lot more money, $100 for a whole house. It's only one or two toilets. That's better. And then, the rental houses were easy, but it kind of snowballed. I think too, like early on, one thing that was a good attribute I had was the fact that like I didn't mind asking for money.
Hmm.
Never had a problem saying like, no, I want this amount, or you should
Yep.
pay me more for this.
I mean, that's a hurdle that so many, I think, entrepreneurs have a hard time crossing.
I did
It's
not.
the whole asking for money, asking for value and what you believe you're worth to be. So let's jump from that business to what came next. I mean, did somebody come to you and say, hey, you really market your own thing well. Why don't you help me do my thing?
No, so I have a finance degree. So that was all while I was getting my degree in finance.
Uh-huh.
I graduated, I went into financial services, but it was back in 2008 when the crash happened.
Mm,
So I was thinking I was going to be an investment banker. I thought I'd get my CFA, thought I'd be an investment banker, and I'd have that trajectory. That did not happen.
yep.
And I was also very sick. So when I graduated college, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So that was
Mm,
2008. I was having like a lot of neurological issues. And then, come to find out 20 years down the line, I was underdiagnosed for a number of years, like 20 years. So I was dealing with a lot of health issues, and that truthfully impacted the direction I went with my career
yeah.
because then I was like juggling trying to make money and have some freedom, but also being extremely sick at
Hmm.
times.
Were some of these tasks that, I mean, you post my investment banker dream. So what were some of the companies that you worked for, some of the positions you held?
Yeah, so I started out with a boutique financial planning company called Prometheus Capital, and then I went to JP Morgan Chase and Capital One. And then I had my daughter, and I was like, I don't want to be in banking and finance anymore. I want
Mm,
to do something else. And that was in 2014. So I made the decision to leave.
I did a little research on you, and I know that there's a story kind of that people have asked you about at different times, but it's a little TV show that people may have heard of called Shark Tank. So tell us the
Mhm.
connection that you have to a Shark Tank story.
So my friend Megan Tarmy, when we were in college, started doing caddying, like golf caddying,
Hmm.
and she built a business in South Carolina for female caddies. And I turned to her and I said, you know what? We should expand this. Like, do you want help? Do you want to partner? Because I'm pretty sure we could do this in other places besides Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So I teamed up with her for a number of years. We expanded out. We started caddying companies and businesses all over, like up and down the East Coast. Then we spread out, towards like Texas and Arizona, California, Puerto Rico. I didn't like sever, but like I left that partnership when I had my daughter because it's a number of reasons.
Yeah,
Like, can
some
imagine
legal,
like,
some
yeah, like
stretching the
like,
boundaries a little bit.
a
Yeah.
little bit like nervous with some of the things that I was in a leadership role and some things were happening. So I decided to leave, but she was welcomed onto Shark Tank that year.
Yeah.
Did great. She got an offer. She decided not to do it, and she still runs the company today. Actually, like there was a fundraiser here in my town, and the father of my kids, he hired her and her team. I'm like, I love her. I think she's the coolest person ever. Great business model, but I just had to do something a little bit more structured.
Well, it is interesting because I actually was watching that episode with my youngest child, who is
Oh,
my my mirror, and yeah, we were watching that episode. So at doing research and looking at that, I thought I remember seeing that episode that was on there. I think the offer was not a great offer, so I think she probably was wise to take to turn that one down and move forward. But it's interesting experience, just to go through that, because it's a I mean it's a I from what I understand, a pretty long process to get to being on the show. So a lot you can learn from that, and your 15 seconds of fame or whatever, all PR is good PR type things. So kick that into gear. But it is interesting to look back at your personal experience and the things that you've done. So that stepping out of that, what did you do following the is it called the Caddy Girls?
yeah. So I was always running businesses while I was working in corporate.
Hmm.
Corporate was never enough money for me, especially dealing with my health issues. I was not a fan of the allopathic ways, and I went the natural route for
Yep.
most of my life. And because I was underdiagnosed, I was constantly trying to throw money at my health issues,
Hmm.
and it cost a ton of money.
Mm.
Like you can't even imagine. So I had a large need for money, and that's why I was always juggling and operating different things at different times. So I did that. But in 2014, I did take a break with the birth of my first daughter.
Hmm.
And I do share that that was really a terrible idea. Like, you have to have a partner that is on board with that and will treat you right and support you through that. And he did not. So it was writing on the wall, knew I had to get out and I had to find another job. But when I tried to get back in, even after like a year and a half of not working,
Mm.
I couldn't find a role. I eventually took a job like a third of the pay that I was making because women get discriminated against, especially when they take a break for having children.
Yeah, there's that resume gap that kind of unexplained, or what seemingly unexplained
Seemingly
resume gap.
unexplainable.
Yeah.
Facing another human, very unexplainable. Uh, yeah, I didn't appreciate that experience in my career journey, and I really hope that 10 years later that has changed.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely, for sure. And I think that that just have we've had HR, directors on the podcast and on other podcasts that I've done, and yeah, it's a new world for sure. I think that
Good.
that that
Yeah.
that you would be dealing with. But tell me about the idea of going back to LinkedIn, lessons you learned, kind of really honing in on, how did you determine what your particular like ideal client, ideal customer profile looked like?
Well, for me, it's one thing. For me, I work with sales teams. So people that are CROs, SVP of sales, head of sales, sometimes the founders, the CEOs, those are within my ICP. But my clients, because I've worked with several different industries across
Hmm.
the board, we dig in and we first look at who are their current clients, how are they coded on LinkedIn? And this is a big thing people skip when they're pulling up searches and finding leads. You have to look at your current book of business, see how the industries are coded, the employee size based on what LinkedIn is reporting, the titles of the clients you're working with, day to day, decision makers, influencers, right? Like look at everybody and build your list from there. And then if you have like a really big book of business, look at your top 20 that are driving 80% of your revenue and start there.
Like the Pareto principle of everything, you know, you're just kind of looking, I mean, is that, have you found that to be true in prospecting, you know, when you're looking at your, you know, lead database or whatever, you said, hey, the top 20% is going to generate the vast majority of your revenue.
Yeah, I mean, with clients, when you look at a client book for every company, it is never even. Unless it's a like a SaaS product where it is an even sale, right?
Yeah.
But even then, like you'll have a different amount of users per company.
Mm-hmm.
So that always shifts. But I always see it's like a small little chunk. And what's wrong with that, which sucks about that, is if they lose one of those clients,
Mm-hmm.
they lose a
Yeah.
huge portion of their revenue.
I was looking at another a video that you had done that was talking about, you know, how to kind of scrape LinkedIn and how to use it effectively and build a good lead list. And it was actually we'll try to put those links in the show notes as well. But I'm curious. You kind of said I went from sales to B2B to sales. Now I'm teaching. So are these courses that you're developing? Is this I know you're building a community around this. So talk about the teaching side of things right now.
So I do have a B2B, not a B2B, but I do have a community on
Uh-huh.
school.
Yeah.
It's really for B2B people, but it can be for any individuals. Like I have people who are doing like financial planning that are in there, insurance. So they can come in there too. And I have like a little course on social selling and LinkedIn, and it's an intro course. And then I'm hosting master classes for people where they can pay and they can come and they can learn.
Mm-hmm.
I never was able to help individuals before last year because I always worked with businesses.
Yeah.
So if I had a friend who was just a sales rep and wanted help, but their, company wasn't going to pay for it, I had to either choose to help them for free, which I did most of the time,
Mm-hmm.
or I couldn't help them, right? So I opened this community up because I wanted to be able to serve everybody and give everyone access to information. It's completely free. And then, yes, where I drive my revenue is with companies that typically have larger teams. I mean, I'll take on a team of 5 if I need to, and want to learn how to use LinkedIn to increase their sales and retain their clients. That's a big, big thing that people are missing.
Now, somewhere in the podcast we've shifted. You know, we got to Chelsea 2.0. If you're doing pro bono work, you know, Chelsea 1.0 said she never has a problem asking for money. So what happened here?
I really love my friends and I really love people that like have been there for me, especially when I was sick.
Mm-hmm.
I was struggling, those people, they will never, ever pay for my time. There are certain people and they know who they are. I will always help them.
Tell me some lessons that you've learned, even around like building community. Like, I mean, that people talk about that all the time. You know, I
Mhm.
know that your follower list on LinkedIn is growing steadily, you know, because I've kind of watched that as well. But
Yeah.
tell me some unique lessons that you have found that as you're trying to build this community and seeing it grow over the last 12 to 18 months.
Okay, so my community is only like 2 months old, admittedly. I pretty much one
I
day
was
was
I was conflating followers and community
followers, yeah.
together. So yeah.
I'm like my school community is very like I one day was just like, I'm doing it. I want to have a community. I want to have a course. I filmed it, I think, in like 12 hours, the course. And I was like, it's good enough. And I know that is not like it's not reflective of my typical mindset, but I was like, I need something out there for
Hmm.
individuals. I can help them for free. Like, let's do it. So I just did it. Um, LinkedIn has been a slow climb. So I recently shared a post about how I removed all of my connections pretty much
Yep.
off.
Saw
So I
that.
spent 15 years building this huge network. It wasn't that big, I mean, but like a big network. And none of these folks were connecting, like not connecting, but like they weren't reacting to my content.
Hmm.
And I was just over it. I'm like,
No engagement. Yeah.
engagement, like burn it down, burn the bridges, burn the boats. Like I'm over it. We're done here. So I started last year from a really low number, and now I'm around like 11,000. But the people I'm connected with truly are folks that are within my ICP. So I analyze and I see like what location they're coming from, what roles they have, what companies they work for. And of course, like you're always going to have some people that are on the fringe and like not perfect. But I have a really, really good following list.
And, sometimes you connect with crazy podcast hosts from Richmond, Virginia. I mean,
Yeah, even that.
accept that connection request. That's right. You have to look back and to review your practices again. Wait a minute, what did I do here?
I'm like, listen, one thing is like there are a lot of people that are from other countries on LinkedIn, right? That like, so I see a big mistake is like people are just connecting with every single person they can.
Yep.
But these folks are never going to buy from you. Or they're, like if you don't sell into India, I don't sell into Pakistan, like you shouldn't be, typically you shouldn't be just connecting and accruing all these random connections just for the numbers. It's not the right approach. It truly is quality over quantity.
If you had to break down kind of your selling philosophy, like these are the things that I teach. Here's the 4 pillars of my sales strategy or whatever, or three strategic steps. So how would you define your particular strategy when it just comes to selling, especially on LinkedIn?
So number one, having a clear message, being able to clearly communicate what you are selling. Most people cannot do this. You have to do this at a 5th grade reading level. Don't use jargon. Don't make it fancy. You need to clearly communicate. That is step 1. Step 2 is identifying who you're selling to. That's pretty simple, or it seems it. I will share with you, Kevin, I have a YouTube video where it does go through how to search for people based off your book of business. So I'll share that. That's a quick and easy way to do it. And then 3, it's like, okay, we have the message. We have the list. How are we going to connect with them? LinkedIn is just another conduit. It's just another distribution channel. So back in the day, I used the phone. I did marketing newsletters. I did cold email because it was a distribution channel that connected me to a buyer and it worked. Right. LinkedIn is the same thing. It truly is the most effective way to go about things today. So I use it, but I still use other methods. And I also teach my clients to use conversion methods. So we do LinkedIn and then we use cold email, we use cold calling, and even direct mail at times.
Is there an assumption in those steps? Is there an assumption that I've already determined like what my product market fit is, or what is my actual offering or the service that I want to provide? Because I think so often people aren't even clear about that.
That is like the hardest thing because that's more of like a solopreneur problem. And that honestly is like a business problem too, because I'll talk to businesses and they are making millions of dollars. But when I ask them like, okay, who should we sell this to? It's like, everybody. There's this huge TAM. And I'm like,
really? Is it?
Like, you don't really. So getting very clear, I think, is important of who you can sell to. But when it's a solopreneur, it gets tricky. I don't think you should pigeonhole yourself. I'm like the opposite. I think you should have an offer. Like if you are like me, like you're a solopreneur, I think you should have an offer that's very clear, and it's very clear what you do, but it can help lots of different industries and people.
So that is contrary. It's contrarian to the niche down, I think, crowd, because I'm thinking they're thinking, hey, that's a secondary strategy, not a primary strategy, because you'll starve to death if you niche down too much when you're trying to get started. It's like I'm not selling it. I haven't found any left-handed, golfers that or that have an aversion to golf carts. So I'm having my market's not big enough, to find enough to even eat. So it is an interesting approach to just the idea of, how do you clarify your message? What does that mean? Drill down a little bit on, when you say make sure your message is clear.
So let's use mine. So I'm very clear in what I teach. I teach people how to use LinkedIn so they can increase sales. I teach them social selling tactics, whether that's outreach, content creation, or both, right? So I teach LinkedIn and I help sales teams. But I can help all different types of sales teams. Like I can help people in cybersecurity, SaaS, tech, construction, marketing agencies, like a dental office, it doesn't matter. I can help you, right? Any different type of industry. And all too often what people try to do is say, I help marketing agencies, specifically with LinkedIn, like when you start
Hmm.
drilling down too much like that, it doesn't connect to like a broad enough audience on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
So if it's not resonating with enough people, you can't attract attention. And you need a large amount of attention to convert like this very small amount into your pipeline. So it's the opposite. You need to cast a wide net. So your content needs to speak to pretty much anyone and everyone that could buy from you. You should not pigeonhole your content. Keep it broad. Then you can whittle down, right? You bring them down your funnel. And that's why I have my school community. It's the wide net.
Yep.
Anyone can go here. That doesn't mean you're going to work with me. That doesn't mean you're going to pay for me, but it's a wide net and it gets me closer to the people that should be working with me.
So when the way you describe that, so if I was an agency, a marketing agency, and I'm listening to this podcast, I'm thinking, okay, she is training sales teams,
Mhm.
or trying to help me refine my messaging and things like that. So what is the first step as an agency owner that I'm looking at? I'm joining your community. I'm starting to see some of your content. I've connected with you on LinkedIn or whatever. What's the next logical step after I'm, say, joining the newsletter? I'm a member of the community. I've watched the initial course type thing. What would be, I guess, the next logical step that says, hey, this is Chelsea. I hate to use the thing again, Chelsea 2.0 again. This is Chelsea 2.0. This is how I'm engaging with her now.
Yeah, well, if that agency wants to build a pipeline and wants to learn how to build a pipeline today, then they should call me. They should talk to me. So we should schedule a time to meet. I have a process where I have a form, they can fill it out. And then if it's a good fit, we'll meet because at a certain point, like you just need to talk to people.
Yeah. And that goes back to early days. I mean, was there ever a point in time where you were afraid to talk to people?
Yeah, when I was doing door-to-door sales for ADT, I was nervous. It was very nerve-wracking. I didn't love it in the beginning. I got
Do
over it, but it was like invasive.
Did it, was it the tail wagging the dog wagging the tail? Was it the ADT that helped you get over that, or the fact that you just got over that regardless of what you were doing?
Time, time helped me get over it. Exposure. It's kind of like when people have anxiety and their fear of like spiders or something.
Yep.
You have to expose them to spiders. So the only way to get over something is to keep exposing yourself to it, and eventually you figure it out.
So you were the kid selling lemonade on the corner, but you were, at some point in time as an adult, you thought, I'm kind of, and hey, I'm out there cleaning toilets in college, as a business, and then I go into moving the house, cleaning houses, things like that. What was the trigger for the ADT part of things that caused you to be somewhat hesitant to talk to home? Didn't like the door slamming in your face, didn't like the
It was a weird process. So this was, and again, like I was doing all these things kind of around the same time. Um, it was a bit strange because you were going I was like 18, 19, going to
Mm,
a stranger's house,
yep.
not being alone on a door. I had to go in their house
Hmm.
and then try to sell them an alarm system. I would use their phone to call the back office, run their social security. It was strange. I mean, think about it. Like as a young girl going into a strange dude's house, I didn't even have a
Yep.
cell phone.
Yeah.
That was a little weird, but it was also just a strange thing. Like, you're very young, you're asking for social security numbers, you're going in the
Hmm.
house. The whole thing was just like I always say, my daughters would never, they are not allowed to do that. They're not going in strangers' homes. Okay.
It is a different world. It is
I don't know how
definitely a
I didn't
different
end up in
world.
someone's basement. Like,
Makes no doubt. Exactly. That's a Netflix movie right there.
for
That's
sure.
going to end up being one
Yeah.
that on
But
the
even,
back page for sure.
but even
Uh,
like with cold calling, like I'm not saying I was 100% comfortable with that either.
hmm.
I didn't love it. Who
Yep.
loved it? We used to be a psychopath to be like,
Well, I
I
I think the
love
people that
getting hung
say
up
they love
on.
it, yeah, I'm a little
Yeah.
concerned about them. I think
Yeah.
their mental state. So,
Yeah.
for sure. But let's kind of let's bring it home a little bit with like, some of the things that you have really seen, extremely effective on LinkedIn. You've seen others that are doing this really, really well. What are one or two things that you've seen? You like all of us, you probably have people on LinkedIn that you follow as well that you're kind of follow closely and say, hey, I've seen things that they do that really tend to resonate with who I am and what I think is effective on LinkedIn.
That's a good question. And I'm gonna answer it, but I do want to say one thing before because I want to go back to the niching down.
Yep.
So, and I call it niching, but whatever. So with that, if you are a marketing agency, right, I think you can niche down a little bit and you could share testimonials and case studies
Mm-hmm.
of companies you've helped. So if
Yep.
you've helped cybersecurity firms create their websites and you've helped a couple of them and they've been successful, that's a good touch point. So you can reach out to other cybersecurity firms
Mm.
and in that outreach say, hey, we specialize in this, we help this company, right? So you don't have to not do it at all, but there's just a tactful way to do it.
Right. That's
Okay.
a great
Yeah.
clarification.
So I do want to clarify that because even with me, okay, I help this type of company, I can reach
Mm-hmm.
out and say, I just helped
Yep.
someone like you.
It's a natural
With
bridge. Yeah.
Natural bridge, right. But you don't have to be so specific in your headline or like
Right.
your elevator pitches, your value props don't have to be so tight. Now, on LinkedIn in general, what I see being effective, number one thing is not using automation anymore. So it used to work, it doesn't. So you
Mm-hmm.
can use automation to send connection requests. But when you reach out to people, don't pitch slap them. Don't ask them for
Mm-hmm.
meetings. Don't say what you do, like nothing. You could reach out. You can say, hey, I saw this, blah, blah, blah. Just curious. Do you need help with XYZ? Start a conversation. Give people that feeling that you're not trying to book a meeting with them because people will be open to texting back and forth with you, but you're going to trigger fight or flight in them if you
Yep.
start pushing for a meeting because no one has time, literally
Mm-hmm.
nobody. So pre-qualify people in the DMs, and that's the number one thing. Just have a conversation, pre-qualify people. I love it when people do it to me and give me that freedom. And there are people in my inbox right now who are doing that for me and that I will probably buy from them one day. So if they're listening, I will probably buy. It's like we just need that freedom. And as a seller myself, I don't think anyone has ever felt pressure from me within the past 3 years. That caveat. I probably pressure people with that to meet with me. Okay, so detach from the outcome of it, pre-qualify people in the DMs, hold space, let it be, give things time. This is not going to be an immediate thing, like a
Mm-hmm.
cold call, book a deal, discovery call booked. It's just not going to happen. And then on the content side, share images of yourself and stop with like the business posts on the business pages. If you are a sales rep, post on your personal page, share personal stories, share pictures of yourself, talk about stuff that's happened at work. It's all good. It's all one thing. You're more than just your business. You're more than this one thing you're doing
Mm-hmm.
now. Be that on LinkedIn. Be yourself. And it sounds cheesy, but it's true. Same as a co-founder. Like you're running this company today. You know how many companies I've ran? Like be you.
Yep.
You should be your brand and talk about business stuff, but don't make a Canva where it's like something really boring just about a business and high jargon. Like don't do that.
So what if you're like me and you got a face for radio? Maybe as an AI version of myself, I can put out there with LinkedIn
No
and build
funny.
that brand.
Men say that all the time, but tons of men have such success with sharing images. And it's not a thing of like, I'm societally like an attractive person. Yes, by the way, that works, right? Like if you have a really hot young girl and she's posting, of course she's going to get attention. It's an unfair advantage. And her content could be much worse than yours. Okay. Let's be real. But as a guy, people want to see who you are. They just want to know what you look like. And what's funny is like I work with a lot of guys. Some aren't even in the best shape. But when you post a full picture, that builds trust.
Yeah.
People don't care what you look like. They just want to know what you look like. So,
Mm.
headshots are great, but like full pictures, you standing looking out at a skyline, it doesn't have to be professional. You and your kids on a mountain having fun. Like it really isn't a vanity play so much.
Yep.
it's more about building trust and having people see you, which
Mm.
is scary for some people.
Yeah, I really like that. I think, you mentioned the idea of kind of the almost bot, outreach on LinkedIn and engagement that, people see through that pretty easily.
Yeah.
Then they see through doctored photos and, and that type of thing. So I like the idea of really the authenticity that you're talking about, just really clear, true. It's a true picture. And it is. I mean, our lives are holistic. It's not, I
Yeah.
have my home life, I have work life, I have this life, I have this. I mean, it's like, 24/7 we're engaged, in kind of this pursuit. But anything that we have not touched on that you think would be just really good to kind of wrap up today, around this whole space and primarily the LinkedIn space?
I'd encourage people to check out LinkedIn, start seeing how people are using it. A lot of people are unaware of how much their competitors are posting, how much
Mm.
opportunity is on there, the way people are using it today, because it's changed a whole bunch. And I just encourage them, go on there, send messages, connect with people, be yourself, chat like your normal self, and see what happens.
It'll resonate with some, and some it won't. But those that does resonate with, at least you will build that relationship and that that trusted, I guess, communication that you have to deliver today. But
Mhm.
I do want to kind of shift right now into our rapid fire round. I mean, these are disparate questions, and you're gonna maybe hear them. You're gonna go, "Why is he asking these crazy questions?" But there's a method to our madness here, and we really
Okay.
love to wrap up with these questions. So, number one, did you get along with your parents growing up?
Oh, can I like plead the fifth? Um, like my dad, yes. My mom, not as much.
Do you have siblings?
I do. I have an older brother, and then I found out I have another older brother who was adopted as a baby, and I found that out a few years ago. So I have two brothers.
All right. Do you have pets?
No, very heavy allergies here. No pets.
Children?
Yes, two girls.
What day on a work day, what day do you wake up in the morning?
Oh, I like to sleep. So I go to bed really early, like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I still sleep into like 6:30, sometimes 7.
And you answer the next question. I was going to say, what time do you go to bed? So you've already answered the
I like
question.
like
So
10, 11. Women need like 10 or 11 hours of sleep. I stand by
there's no wrong answer
it.
here. Ideal vacation spot on the planet. No money, not an object.
I love Barbados.
Barbados. So, how does faith affect how you do business?
Mm, well, God is the center of everything I do. And well, let's say I try to put God at the center of everything I do. Honestly, like the secret to my content, I just prayed a lot and I woke up in the morning and I said, God, guide me. And I truly believe like this energy source helped me write my content. I'm not saying that's the best approach, but that's what I've been doing for the past year. And 200 and what, 15 posts later, that's been the strategy.
He may be the best copywriter we know,
Yeah. Yeah, honestly. But if you can, if you can put God at the center, I think miraculous things happen and trusting God, and especially in those moments where your business is not doing well. It's really
And
hard.
those times will come for sure. So, closing question. If you were queen for a day, what is one thing about the kind of global marketing climate that you would change?
What do you mean marketing climate?
Just the whole marketing space out there,
The
how
whole
how
piece of
people do
marketing?
marketing, how, what you see, how you engage.
I would have every single company clearly explain what they do because I'm so sick of trying to figure it out. It's not a riddle. Just say what you do.
It's not a riddle. I love it.
Yeah.
That may be the title of the episode. It's not a riddle. Tell people what you do.
Yeah.
I love that. I love
So
that.
important.
No doubt about it. Chelsea, thank you so much just for taking time today. It's been a real pleasure to meet you virtually and to hear your story. And I really appreciate your just the way you've approached this chat is just to say, hey, this is who I am. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to answer the questions you have, and they're going to be raw and real, and just giving us so much to think about, as we next time I look on LinkedIn. I mean, some of these things are going to resonate in my mind for sure, and
Yeah.
I think that many of our listeners will do the exact same thing. But just thank you for playing your part in just helping this marketing agency owners and others really grow and scale their agencies through good practices and using LinkedIn. So, Chelsea, thanks again. Have a great week.
Thank you for tuning in to another great episode of the Marketing Umbrella Podcast, where we provide the information you need from successful leading marketers to build and grow your digital marketing agency. To learn more, go to umbrellaus.com.